Hello and welcome to Scream Scene, the horror movie podcast where we watch every horror movie ever made in chronological order and then we rank them from best to worst. My name's Sarah.
And I'm Ben.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm doing quite well today. How about yourself, Sarah?
Well, we had a very long recording day yesterday because we recorded what we are putting together for our special October content on Patreon. It's a recording of us doing an actual play of the game Dread, an original story that you put together, and our two friends, Tori and Lisa, joined us, and it was a 9-hour record day.
Yes.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
The final episode won't be 9 hours, but it'll still be a long one. So head to patreon.com/screamscenepodcast to get in on that right when it launches. But yeah, that really tuckered me out for today.
You know, if you end up wanting to cut that into multiple episodes when you're editing it, if that makes sense when you're doing it, go for it.
People can hit pause.
Okay.
It'll be fine. I'll put timestamps in so if someone wants to skip to something, they can. But
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that to come out. I think we ended up producing something really special.
Yeah, and our friends did a really amazing job. To be expected, they're really great role players.
But I can understand why, after a whole day of being on like that you're a little tired today. So don't worry, because you're going to get a break.
Sure, okay.
Because Sarah, the hit parade of 1960, has decided to take a break.
Oh, good.
And we are watching today a movie that does not matter.
Are you sure? Are you allowed to say that without seeing it first?
Yes. I feel so confident.
Well, what are we watching today?
Today, Sarah, we are watching SEDDOK, Ready de Satan, or SEDDOK, the Heir of Satan.
Okay.
Also known as Atom Age Vampire in its US title.
So is SEDDOK the guy's name?
Yes.
Okay, because that sounds like Spock's long-lost brother.
Yeah, for sure. This movie seems to have been made to cash in on the horror movie fad.
Sure.
This is a very quickly made cash-in film. As an example, this movie was produced by Elio Ippolito Molino for Lions Films, but the movie was released 6 days after The Mask of Satan, aka Black Sunday. So he used the pseudonym Mario Bava on the credits.
Oh my God.
Which was good enough to fool many publications in America into listing this as a Mario Bava production.
Oh, this guy.
The screenplay, which is written by I think 4 or 5 different writers, including poet and novelist Alberto Bevilacqua, is a straight up ripoff of Eyes Without a Face.
Okay.
With some Jekyll and Hyde thrown in and some using glands to restore your youth 1940s shit thrown in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so they're really just, putting a bunch of things together that they think will mesh well. And
just as a reminder, because I know it feels like maybe it was a long time ago, Eyes Without a Face was 2 months ago in 1960.
Yeah, so that's its most recent influence.
Yes. So this thing was put together very fast. It was directed by Anton Giulio Majano, who'd been working in Italian film since the 1930s. This would be his second last feature film, after which he would transition his career into television. This picture was pumped out very quickly. It stars many regular performers of low-budget Italian films of this period. No one we would recognize, but if you watch a lot of Sword and Sandals movies from this period, you'd recognize some of these people. The only person we would recognize is Ivo Garani, who just played Prince Vida in Black Sunday. He appears as a commissioner in a brief role.
So this was his weekend.
Yeah, exactly. The movie was scored by Armando Trovaioli, who mostly worked on jazzy scores for Italian comedies of this period.
Perfect.
Yeah. This picture was released on August 16th, 1960. It is 105 minutes long, and it made 90 million lira, which was about $45,000, I think.
We've talked about like the weird math that has to be done to try to translate what that would be in today's money, because the lira doesn't really exist.
It's hard. Italian critics at the time called this movie absurd and clumsy.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah. I have heard that it maybe has some good makeup effects in it. Maybe. Okay. We'll see.
Well, something to look forward to.
It was released May 29th, 1963 in America in a dubbed form, edited down from 105 minutes to 87 minutes long.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's
like nearly 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. And retitled Atom Age Vampire. Then on US television, it was edited down further to 72 minutes. And the public domain version that floats around on low-budget DVDs from people like Alpha Video is 69 minutes long.
Nice.
American critics called this film unimaginative, sluggish, and banal.
All things that you would associate with the atomic age.
Terminal Video Italia has released this film on DVD at the full original running time in 2017. So we're going to be watching the original Italian cut. The version on YouTube that we're going to be watching has like a burned in watermark caption that sometimes interferes with reading the English language captions.
Oh, well.
The film's public domain status has led to a number of interesting remixes. In 2009, an animator took the English dubbed soundtrack and paired it with like new animation. While in 2011, Adam Roberts made a shot-for-shot remake, also using the English-dubbed soundtrack, but with no characters. Just like going to places in Italy where they shot it, I guess, and like just shooting the shots with nobody in them and laying over the soundtrack.
So it all sounds like the conversations are happening off screen.
Well, it's like Garfield minus Garfield, but this movie minus everybody.
Okay.
So it's in the public domain is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah. But it sounds like folks will be able to watch it on our YouTube playlist.
Yes, very easily.
Okay, well, we can spread the joy around. If you want to find that playlist, you can go to our website, screamscenepodcast.com. Anything else to add?
That's it. That's all I got on this movie. That's all you got. Yeah, it was made in Italy. That's like...
I mean, you got some good stuff, Ben. Don't sell your research short. Well, folks... watch along. You're going to hear a brief musical interlude, and when we come back, we will discuss SEDDOK, La Verde di Satan, aka Atom Age Vampire from 1960, directed by Anton Giulio Majano.
See you on the other side, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. We just finished watching SEDDOK, La Verde di Satana, or Atom Age Vampire, from 1960, directed by Anton Giulio Majano. Sarah, what did you think?
Ooh, bad movie.
It's funny because I had gone into this being informed that the American title, Atom Age Vampire, was inaccurate.
Not too inaccurate.
Here's the thing. It is... but it's not any less accurate than the Italian title either. Like, now, what's funny is both are justified within the dialogue of the Italian version that we watched.
Which is weird.
Yeah, a lot of people only see the American dub of this. We watched the original Italian version. Both titles do get justified, but neither title is good for this movie.
Correct. What does the SEDDOK Italian title translate to?
SEDDOK, Heir of Satan.
Yeah. Not accurate.
No.
Well, at least we begin this nearly 2-hour-long movie with a striptease. We mainly follow Jeanette, who is the stripteaser in question, and her boyfriend, Pierre, through a bit of a melodramatic relationship. Basically, they're in love. he wants her to quit being a stripper. She's like, I gotta pay my bills. So he leaves her and she's like, well, fuck. I guess I gotta quit being a stripper because he left me. Now, Pierre is a sailor and he's heading off for like his next
tour
voyage. And so Jeanette drives off after him, but gets into a car crash, which leaves her scarred on her face. This makes it to the newspapers, and we see that a Dr. Levin, his assistant Monique, and Minion, Sasha.
Yeah, his gardener,
Minion. They read about this, and Dr. Levin is like, great, she's going to be the perfect candidate to prove that my theories about using atomic radiation to cure scarring will work. It'll be like a great success, and her name will get me in the papers. Monique goes and gets her. It's all supposed to be very secretive. No one is allowed to know about where she's going. And yeah, so Dr. Levin uses atomic radiation to regenerate scars. Monique is like full in on this research because she is in love with Dr. Levin. And she is so far gone into believing all of this that she scars herself on her arm. And then they use the concoction to remove the scarring, basically pushing forward human testing before Dr. Levin believes it's even ready. But it works, so they're like, cool, now we'll do it on Jeanette.
Can I explain the nonsense science very quickly behind this?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so the idea here is that, like, Dr. Levin worked in Japan on, like, people with keloid scarring from Hiroshima, and basically wants to figure out a way to use, like, radiation to cure scarring, as Sarah was saying, developed a compound called Derma 25 that makes you worse, turns you into like a monster, essentially, and then derived from Derma 25, Derma 28, which fixes you. And the way it fixes you is basically anti-cancer. And I will say that, like, given that I was expecting a glands movie at first, this is actually surprisingly forward-thinking sci-fi because they're kind of describing stem cell research, because basically the idea is just taking cancer cells that, like, multiply, and take over the person and reversing them to destroy scar tissue. So that's the bullshit nonsense science here. I bring this up so that I can complain about plot holes later.
Absolutely. There's much to complain about with this movie. So they succeed in, they say, curing Jeanette of her scars. And Levin is in love with Jeanette, both because she is a beautiful woman and also because her beauty is thanks to him. So he is narcissistically in love as well.
He feels like he has ownership over her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they had to use like the majority of Derma 28 to reverse the scarring, and the cure isn't fully stabilized. Her scars start to come back, so they need to keep stabilizing this cure. To get more Derma 28, they have to essentially kill someone and use Derma 25 to derive Derma 28. So Levin ends up having to kill Monique, which he's not too beat up about because she was in the way anyways of him getting to be with Jeanette. This is where the gland stuff comes in, because what he takes from his murder victims is a gland, which he then like uses with the Derma 25 and Derma 28.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense at this point, but somehow they're extracting Derma 28 from the glands that he's taking from healthy young women. That part was a little fuzzy.
Unfortunately, the cure needs a lot of stabilizing, so he needs to keep killing. Luckily, there's a gorilla on the loose, so he uses that as cover to go and keep murdering. But then he also has like this problematic conscience. So he's like, if I take Derma 25, this radioactive solution, I will become a monster myself and no longer have to worry about this conscience. So he does that and transforms in a Jekyll Hyde sort of way. and goes out killing.
And conveniently, they have this like radiation therapy to get rid of scarring that doesn't work except on scars created by Derma 25. So he can undo the transformation.
That must be like Derma 26, you know? So the police are sort of on the trail of either a gorilla or this person killing, or on where Jeanette is, because she has gone missing, basically, as far as they know. Then a raving woman comes in talking about SEDDOK, coming up with this story that SEDDOK is the heir to Satan, and that's who's been doing these murders, and he's some kind of sexual predator and stuff. And it's like completely like hand waved away by the police, but it gets thrown all over the papers in a yellow journalism sort of thing, to the point where one of the reporters also includes, this older woman who lives alone at 123 Italy Street, giving her exact address, which means she is the next person killed.
It's so bizarrely out of left field, because basically we're meant to understand that this is just a woman who's like made up something crazy to tell the police so that she can get in the papers and get attention.
Yeah.
And this is treated, the movie actually treats this as like, oh, you know, one of these people, like as if this is a normal thing. And then her story itself is like, you know, SEDDOK, this name I just came up with out of nowhere. He visited me as a child. Like, there's so many weird random details to it, and the name never makes sense or is explained what SEDDOK is supposed to be. It just kind of becomes the name everyone decides to start using.
Yeah.
It had weird comic book movie feels.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jeanette, she keeps getting either gaslit or just straight up drugged throughout the movie. So it's never quite clear how much she knows about what's going on, but she does eventually realize that she is trapped, and so she tries to get word out to Pierre to tell him where she is, eventually also managing to run out and meet him on the docks before Levin and Sasha knock out Pierre and kidnap Jeanette back to the lab. Now Pierre is involved, and he starts to help out the police. He didn't see his attacker, so he does get to meet Levin without knowing that that's his attacker, but Levin knows who Pierre is, yada yada. Everything kind of comes to a head with the police on Levin's trail, and he's like, okay, we need to get out of here. Jeanette, you're coming with me. And as he is trying to get Jeanette to come with him, he transforms in front of her eyes. She faints, and he's running around with an unconscious Jeanette, runs into Sasha, and he's like, Sasha, it's me, your master. You have to help us. We have to get out of here. And Sasha ends up killing him. Who would have seen that coming? And the police crowd around.
And then he turns back into his normal self after he dies.
Yeah, the end. Like Jeanette is fine. She gets to be with Pierre, who's fine. Like
right. Yeah,
Sasha gets taken away. Like it's all fucking fine.
Her scars get cured.
Yeah.
This movie is probably good if you've never seen Phantom of the Opera, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Mad Love, Eyes Without a Face, or any of the movies inspired by those movies.
Which is like every fucking movie.
Yeah.
You can really tell that this movie had many screenwriters, as you kind of alluded to in the context setting, because every 20 to 30 minutes, we enter a new movie.
For sure. What the movie kind of adds to the formula of those films is some truly over-the-top, melodramatic Italian acting. Every character in this movie has their emotions dialed up to like daytime soap opera levels in this thing. Like, I thought I was watching an SCTV skit for some of this because people are so over the top. Like, Pierre and Jeanette love each other to a like
comical degree.
Right.
Because it's like a love him, hate him kind of situation.
Monique, you know, the other thing too is every woman in this movie is like impossible 1960s Italian beautiful kind of level of beautiful, but Monique is a brunette and wears glasses sometimes, so she's clearly not as gorgeous as Jeanette, who is blonde, like,
and does like Veronica Lake hairstyling.
Yeah, but like Monique's over there, like there are moments where it's like she takes off the glasses and she's like, "Doctor, I'm so devoted to you." And it's like everything in the movie is that like
level of intensity, which also means that there's like nowhere to go when they do try to ramp up like tension or horror. Like it is a horror movie. It is trying to be a horror movie, but it's like so much all the time that it also becomes like comical at points, especially when it's like suddenly a gorilla is on the loose.
Oh yeah. It's like, what more are you going to throw at us? But it's also like nobody stops. Okay. The movie both never has anyone stop to question what's going on, and yet has these dialogue scenes that last forever as everyone talks around everything because talking is inexpensive. Like I can honestly see why the American distributors cut like 20 minutes out of this, because there's so many dialogue scenes that are just here to pad out time and go nowhere. Like as an example of the kind of thing this movie has, in a normal movie, a police officer might come into the detective's office and be like, "Boss, we got the license plate number of the car that was stolen." And the detective will be like, "Excellent. That's the car the murderer used. Let's put out an APB. All right, on it, boss." And that's the scene. And this is a movie where like someone will come in and be like, "Boss, I got the license plate of that stolen car." And the detective will be like, "Why are you bringing me this? It's been months since I worked in like auto theft department." And be like, "But boss, this stolen car matches the description of the car of that doctor." "What doctor? I don't have a tummy ache." "But boss, the doctor who could have been," like, this is what the dialogue is like.
And like talking around, like when SEDDOK gets mentioned, it's like we get to hear the full backstory from that woman about who SEDDOK was. And then the police being like, "What do you mean, what's a sexual predator?"
Yeah.
Like, it's bonkers. And the movie doesn't play it for laughs either. Like it's supposed to be as if it's like building mystery or something.
Exactly. But like, this is a movie where this woman comes in with the SEDDOK story, delivers that to the police, and then there's like 5 more scenes of like various combinations of police and reporters arguing about her story.
Yeah, whether to believe it or not. Like, what is SEDDOK? Who is SEDDOK? And then later on, there's been another murder, and the beat cop is like, SEDDOK. It's like, why are we doing this? Also, SEDDOK doesn't become a thing until an hour into this movie.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, there's just so much dialogue, so many dialogue scenes of people talking in circles. It works a little bit better than an Ed Wood movie simply because they have that melodramatic Italian style of acting. There's also just, and I get that it's part of the plot and that it's motivated by character, but there's so much misogyny and gaslighting in this movie. It's exhausting.
And because we are also working off of a foreign film with subtitles that were challenging to read because of that watermark, I kept being like, did we not talk about that? Like, I started to question what the movie had told me.
Pierre is a terrible, horrible hypocrite because, like, basically this is a sailor who frequents a strip club when he's on shore leave, which, sidebar, anyone who like is in our listening audience who went to strip clubs in the 1960s, can you help me out with something? Because
these seem so classy.
Yeah, this strip club is like a white tie affair, like beautiful tablecloth, take your wife out for dinner.
People dressed up to the nines.
And lots of like middle-aged married couples and women in the audience. And then like, she's not like a torch singer, like she's a full-on stripper. And it's like, I don't understand. When were strip clubs classy? Anyways.
So are we going to the wrong ones?
Right. So this is a sailor who goes to a strip club on his shore leave and falls in love with a stripper and then doesn't want his girlfriend to be a stripper, so wants her to quit stripping, which is like a super misogynistic point of view. It's also like really common to this day, like guys who fall in love with like
the
models.
person who's hot and then is mad that other people find them hot.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Which is super misogynistic. But then we have to root for this guy later against the villain who's like, I love you. Therefore, the fact that you don't love me is you lying to yourself about how you don't love me because you couldn't possibly not love me. I created you. Like, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot
to deal with throughout. And then everybody in this movie is very bad at their jobs.
I guess except for Professor Levin.
Right.
Like he does
No, he is bad at his job because, okay, he's in this bind where he has to murder people for their glands to make Derma 28 because he ran out of Derma 28 and it takes too long to make more. And so he's in a rush for no reason. Well, he's in a rush because he doesn't want anyone to know that the process didn't work permanently, especially Jeanette. He doesn't want her to realize he's having to keep doing things. He wants her to think that the process worked the first time. Okay, this is a problem I have with like all of these mad scientists who follow this eyes without a face kind of pattern. There's this weird thing they all do where they tell no one about their work because they want to have it work on their guinea pig character and then present it to the world and shock everyone and be like, look. And then when it turns out to be temporary, they're like, oh no. And then they have to kill people to try to keep it going. And it's like, once you are permanently cured, then we can reveal it to the world and so on. And this isn't how science works. Like, if you want to be famous because you invented the thing that cured scars, you do the experiment and then you publish a paper.
Yeah.
In a journal, and then other scientists read it and they go, holy shit, that's cool. And then you win the Nobel Prize, and that's the end of the story. There aren't like science fair competitions at the like top level of science. That's not how this works. It's not like Young Frankenstein where he goes out there and puts on the show. Like, it's
also, it's not like scarring is a life or death situation, right?
Okay.
So this time limit is only put on by himself.
Yes, because he doesn't want Jeanette to find out that it didn't work the first time. And the other thing is these movies always do this thing where they want to make a cure, but it turns out it's not a cure, it's just a treatment, and you have to reapply it. And all of these scientists treat this as this huge failure, when any pharmacology company would tell you, no, that is the ideal situation because we can keep selling Derma 28 forever and ever and ever. And then, and I know it's just a dumb movie. I know it's just a dumb movie.
Give it to me.
Well, it's just that, like, the problem is that this movie is beat for beat following these old formulas, right? Like, even when the scarring...
Old formulas.
Yes. I mean, there's a gorilla on the loose in this movie, for Christ's sake. But, like, when her scarring started to appear, I was like, the beast flesh creeps back, right? Which is, like, all the way back to 1933. Okay. The idea that you have a treatment that will destroy the cells in the scar tissue to get rid of the scar tissue, fine. I'm going to buy that for the sake of suspension of disbelief. Why does it come back?
Mm-hmm.
It only comes back because that's what always happens in this movie. But scar tissue isn't a disease. It isn't cancer. It isn't an infection.
If anything, it should get worse because you're doing more damage to damaged cells.
Right. But like the idea is that you destroyed the damaged cells. So what is growing back? How are there just damaged cells reforming again?
Jeanette has face cancer.
Like, it's like a wound that's splitting back open after it's healed is probably what the writers were thinking, but that's not how any of this, like, works. But it's so much in this movie happens because it happens in the formula of the movies they're copying. Why does Professor Levin just randomly transform into the monster again against his will? Because that's what's happened in every Jekyll and Hyde movie since the beginning. Why does he, while he's like all monstered up, have this speech about how Jeanette should love him because he loves her and she should pity him because of all he's done for her? Well, because it's Phantom of the Opera, right? Why does he turn back when he dies at the end? Because that's what happens in every single one of these. The moment Monique showed up, I knew that her whole character arc was going to be she loves the doctor, but the doctor loves Jeanette, so he's going to kill her because she's going to be jealous of him and Jeanette.
Or even Sasha.
The moment Sasha showed up, exactly, I knew, oh, cool, he's going to kill the doctor at the end, which he does. Like, the biggest problem with this movie is that it's 105 minutes long, and you know everything that's going to happen in it before it happens.
And not in a, like, dramatic irony kind of way. It's in a very predictable kind of way.
And it's like, It really is. It's not, it's like, you will feel like you've seen this movie before if you've never seen it before. Like, it's that cliche every step of the way.
And it's wild because you're sitting there and the characters and the acting and everything is telling you, like, we're up to like level 11.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! And you're like,
but you're bored because none of this is new or different or exciting in any way.
yeah. And it is meandering. It squanders any kind of tension it could have developed.
Everything that's good here is what it's ripping off from other places.
The makeup is good.
Yeah.
And there is like a neat stop motion thing when Levin first transforms, which I don't think we've ever seen stop motion used in this manner.
No.
So that was neat, but then we don't get to see it ever again. And when he is transformed, it's all just a rubber mask.
So it's really bad when they need him to talk.
Because you can tell that he's not actually able to talk. Like, they did a good ADR job.
Right. But like, yeah, the shot where her scars disappear for the first time is like really well done.
And when they come back, it's really well done too. It kind of looks like a balloon inflating or something.
Yeah, so the makeup effects are pretty good, but that's like 3 to 4 30-second shots in this entire movie, right?
2 minutes.
It's rough, and I think it's particularly rough for you and me because of how much this is just beat for beat other movies.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy this. I had a hard time with it. It was way too long. Yeah, I'm ready to move on to ranking because, like I said, I do believe this is a horror movie.
Mm-hmm. I just have like nothing to say about it because it's so plagiarized. It's like 5 movies in one.
And I feel like, especially because it's trying to keep everything up at like level 11, it feels like it's thinking it's more clever than it actually is, which also drove me up the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and we've talked about this in other episodes, the way that when you copy too many things, your plot stops making sense because you don't remember why things happened the way they happened in the things that you're copying. But yeah, man, this is one of the first times where I've looked at like a foreign film that got like super cut down for an American audience. And I'm like, no.
You could have cut more.
The Americans were right. Well, we saw the long version.
No, but I mean, like, yeah, you could cut this down to be like a 30-minute episode, dude.
I mean, you could cut it down to be an SCTV sketch.
Absolutely. I would pay to see that.
Monster Chiller Horror Theater.
Well, let's move on to ranking.
So, Eyes Without a Face is at number 61.
Yeah.
Just wanted to establish that because I will say this. This movie makes me want to rank Eyes Without a Face higher. Watching this, because I remember when we ranked Eyes Without a Face, we were like, you know, this is like a very artistic, wonderful film, but it's so far up its own ass as an art film that it's not as effective as it could be as a horror film. And watching this made me go, no. Eyes Without a Face is art. Like, I appreciate it now. Like, I didn't know how good I had it, you know, like, it made me want to rank that movie higher. This movie reminded me as well of stuff like The Manster.
Yeah.
Any movie where there's this kind of like, we have to keep doing injections of the thing to either make the transformation happen or stave off the transformation. This movie has both of those things. The Manster's down at like 107.
The Manster's better.
Oh, yeah.
It actually had shit to say.
Village of the Damned's at 110. So I had to keep going lower.
Yeah.
And eventually where I ended up was at 138, which is Ghost of Kagami Swamp. Below that is stuff like Jungle Captive, Return of the Ape Man, The Monster Maker. And I was like, this is the ballpark for this movie. So I made Ghost of Kagami Swamp my ceiling, because above that, there's stuff like Bride of the Gorilla, which has a very sweaty, barrel-chested Raymond Burr in it. And above that, there's like Song at Midnight, The Golem, things that are ranked low for reasons explained in their episodes, but have like some value as films. Whereas this...
So I like the idea of like the value of the gorilla movie is Raymond Burr. Like, I'm totally in agreement, but I love that that's what you're implying.
The only value this movie would have is if like we lost a lot of classic horror film, we could
pastiche it together
using clues from how this movie copied from them, basically. So yeah, that's my ceiling. For floor, I got down to 250, which is Night of Terror. Right below that is 251 Sex Maniac. Below Sex Maniac is stuff like Crime of Dr. Crespi, The Mad Ghoul, Spider-Woman Strikes Back. I was like, this is probably better than Sex Maniac, because at the end of the day, this is a like functional movie because it has stolen parts from other functional movies and welded them together. Like, it works on, I guess, that level. Whereas like Sex Maniac doesn't work, and a lot of stuff below it doesn't work. So that's my range, 238 to 251.
Well, my range is below yours.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So let me just pick up where you left off. I don't think this movie works because it's all these different things glommed onto each other.
Mm-hmm.
Those 20-minute cul-de-sacs maybe work in and of themselves, but trying to glom them all together, it's like a collage of hell. Like, it doesn't work.
I bet the American who cut this down to 69 minutes had like a lot of fun, because when I'm cutting stuff down, there's this really good feeling that you get when you go, oh, I can cut 20 minutes of this and it changes nothing. No one will ever know. And then you get rid of it and it's like,
no one will ever know. So with that in mind, I started looking down and I was like really unsure of where to base myself. And down here, I saw the title Ein Hing im Netz at 264. And I was like, that's from 1960. What movie is that?
Yeah, we just watched this. What movie is this?
So that is that plane of sexy ladies goes down. They're stuck on the island for like several months, but only like one of them dies.
Right.
And then those two sailors come on board onto the island. And
the one
like,
guy becomes a monster.
Yeah. Because of like the spider thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that movie somehow functions, but really had a hard time like justifying that it's horror, because it was really much more focused on sexy babes. This movie, Atomic Age Vampire, at least can justify that it's a bit more horror than that.
Okay, I do need to stop you for a second just so I can say the SEDDOK title gets justified by the wild, I want attention Italian woman who says it's SEDDOK out of nowhere, and everyone says, okay, sure, I guess. The Atom Age Vampire thing is justified near the very end, when like one of the characters is like, yes, so he was researching like atomic energy and then, you know, using that knowledge to go out and prey on women like at night and kill them like one at a time in order to like, you know, gain their vitality and use his atomic science to put it into someone else, like some kind of Atom Age vampire. So both titles do get justified. That's how.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to leave that hanging.
Absolutely. So looking above Ein Hing im Netz, Attack of the Giant Leeches is at 262. I would rather watch Attack of the Giant Leeches than this movie again.
So at 263 is La Casa del Terror, also from 1960. I don't remember what this movie is, and it's from earlier this very same year. This is the one with Lon Chaney, right? And the comedian, and it's Mexican?
Oh, no, this is Lon Chaney. Yeah,
okay,
the Legend of the Mummy was that he was a murderer and a werewolf.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, and the main character is like the weirdo Mexican comedian who gets the girl in the end.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is better than that. And not as good as Attack of the Giant Leeches.
Yeah, cool. That slots it right in there, hey?
Fantastic. Entering in the list at the new number 263 out of 282 is SEDDOK, L'Erede di Satanas, or Atom Age Vampire from 1960, directed by Anton Giulio Majano.
I thought it was directed by Mario Bava, Ben. goodness. If you would like to see this list, you can go to our website, screamscenepodcast.com. There you can find links to the many episodes that we have mentioned today, as well as our appeals box. If you truly feel in your heart that SEDDOK/Adam Age Vampire should go higher, you can reach out. If you feel like it should go below and go further down the list, you can also reach out. You can also contest the ranking of any other movie on our list by reaching out over Tumblr, on our Ask box, or through email at screamscenepodcast@gmail.com.
Scream Scene updates every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Spotify. You can support the show by leaving us a rating or a review on the podcasting app of your choice. You can subscribe to the show using our RSS feed. We love hearing your comments. We love getting feedback. Share the show with your friends over social media or around the water cooler if we still have those at workplaces. I don't know. I work from home. Either way, if you really enjoy what you're hearing, you can help support us financially by heading on over to patreon.com/screamscenepodcast, where you can become a patron of the night for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the $5 and $10 level get access to regular bonus content. As we mentioned earlier in the episode, every October we do some super special Halloween season bonus content, and this year's is a actual play session of the tabletop role-playing game Dread in a story hosted by me, starring Sarah and our friends Tori and Lisa as guests. It's really good. It's also going to be a lot of work for Sarah to edit, so sign up to the Patreon and
make me feel better.
Make Sarah feel better. We would love you to take a listen. I think it turned out really well. So that's patreon.com/screamscenepodcast.
Okay, Ben, we had a run of hits, and then we had this. Mm-hmm. What are we watching next week?
Well, probably, I think I probably have bad news for you. So we're staying in Italy.
Okay.
Because we're learning now that the Italians can pump out stuff really fast if it looks like it makes money. So we are going to be watching Il Molino delle Donne di Pietra, or The Mill of the Stone Women.
Okay.
Which I think...
Not like the stone mill of the women? Like the women's stone mill?
It's another one of these, like, Galatea. He makes statues of women, but maybe he kills them, and it's one of those movies.
Oh, like a wax museum thing.
Right, but like it's statues with cement, maybe. I don't know. I've not seen it. This is the vibe I'm getting.
Okay. Well, we will see you then, creatures of the night.
Ciao.
Bye.